Hello everybody and welcome to another subject analysis documentary. This week I'll be talking about animal classification. Enjoy! So, before we get into any in-depth detail, let's go over what animal classification really means. Well, basically, it's the way we classify life on our planet. This chart shows us how animals are classified. First of all, we split animals into vertebrates and invertebrates. Let's start with the vertebrate section. So, first in the list, we have birds. Second in the list, we have fish. Third in the list, we have mammals. So mammals are like you and me, humans are mammals, and so are things like apes and pretty much anything that produces live offspring. Fun fact, whales and dolphins are also mammals, they're not fish. Next, we have reptiles. And finally, we have amphibians, so that's things like frogs and newts. Now, let's move on to the invertebrate section. So, we have the cnidarians, that's your jellyfish and things of that nature. Then we have the arthropods, and these lines going across are representing the subspecies of arthropod, like the crustacean, that's like lobsters and crabs, arachnids, that's your spiders, insects, that's things like wasps and bees, centipedes and millipedes are centipedes and millipedes. And after arthropods we have worms and mollusks. A mollusk is like a sea snail or a whelk. Well, now let's look a little bit more in depth at mammals. So, let's look at the mammals' distinguishing features. Well, as we all know, mammals produce live young. Of course, the only exception to this is the duck-billed platypus, which lays eggs, even though it is still a mammal. This is because the platypus also possesses other attributes that are mostly associated with mammals. For example, it is covered in hair and possesses milk to feed its young. Also, it has quite a good body temperature control, which means that it is warm-blooded. Now let's look at some other mammals. The definition of an amphibian is a creature that can live on both land and water, but must lay its eggs in water. Now let's look at some of the amphibian's distinguishing features. Distinguishing feature number 1 is that all amphibians have backbones, making them vertebrates. Distinguishing feature number 2 is that at one point in their lives all amphibians will have had gills. And the third distinguishing feature is that amphibians do not have scales. Now, when we look at reptiles, we're going to be looking into a certain type of reptile called the Nile monitor. Now, a lot of people mistake the Nile monitor for a Komodo dragon, but in reality they live in completely different parts of the world. The Nile monitor, as its name suggests, lives on the banks of the Nile River, whereas the Komodo dragon lives on Komodo Island in Oceania. The average length of a Nile monitor is around about 120 centimetres to 160 centimetres. That's around about 3'11" to 5'3". So, on average, a Nile monitor can be as big as I am. But, in some extreme cases, the Nile monitor can grow up to 8 feet long. That's 245 centimetres. Now let me put that into perspective. 8 foot long is the average size of an adult bull shark. Their weight ranges from 6 to 15 kilograms. This means that it can potentially weigh as much as a fully grown adult man. Now, let's take a look at some of its reptile-like features. Reptiles, the Nile monitor is cold-blooded, which is why it has dark-coloured skin so that it can absorb the heat. They also possess sharp claws for defence, digging and climbing, or tearing into their prey. We all know that birds have feathers, a beak with no teeth, and that they lay hard-shelled eggs, but they also have a 4-chambered heart and a lightweight but strong skeleton. As we all know, many species of birds can fly. However, some species of birds cannot. These species include the emu, the ostrich, the penguin. So now, let's look at the birds' migration patterns. So, around 700,000 swallows migrate 5,000 miles south in about 10 days, from England to South Africa. The reason swallows fly up to England in the summer months is so that they can eat all of the flying insects that come out then. But why not just stay all the year round? Well, the reason for that is that our climate gets very, very cold in the winter, so the trees lose their leaves and many insects hide away and begin to hibernate. So the swallows, if they stayed, would face starvation. So they leave for Africa. Something is considered a fish when it's cold-blooded, has an aquatic vertebrae, fins, and has the ability to pass oxygenated water over its gills. Most of the fish that you eat every day will either be cod, haddock, salmon, or tuna. Unless you're a fan of Italian food. In that case, you're probably eating a lot of anchovies. Fish is a meat consumed by many species, including humans. The word fish refers to both the animal and to the food prepared from it. The term fish also includes shellfish, such as mollusks and crustaceans. Fish has been an important source of protein for humans throughout recorded history. However, overfishing is an increasing problem in sustaining the wild fish population. For example, the fish tuna that would have been available in a local supermarket in large quantities around about 6 years ago. But now, tuna is becoming in short supply due to its overfishing in China and Japan.